Welcome to a new deep dive. Today, we're cracking open a really fascinating source.
Oh, yeah. What have we got?
It's an excerpt from a conversation, and it's specifically designed to help people learn English through, well, natural dialogue.
Okay, interesting. So not a textbook, but actual speech.
Exactly. It's like getting a peek behind the curtain at what effective language learning actually sounds like when people are doing it.
Makes sense. What sort of things does it cover?
It touches on quite a bit daily habits, specific learning techniques, and also the mindset you need, to keep going.
Right, the motivation piece. That's huge.
Totally. So our mission here is to pull out the most actionable insights, maybe some surprising tips that you, listening, can just grab and, well, use straight away in your own learning.
Sounds good. Where should we start?
Okay, let's unpack this.
So what's really striking about this source, I think, is its core idea.
Which is?
That really getting English, like becoming fluent, comes from engaging with and understanding real conversation, natural conversation.
Right. It's moving beyond just, grammar rules from a book.
Exactly. Less about lists, more about context.
Yeah, it's about kind of living the language. The people in this conversation we're looking at, they both talked about how their confidence just shot up from using English every day.
And they mentioned specifics, didn't they?
They did. Things like watching TV shows that came up and actually speaking with other people online. Those were the game changers for them, apparently. Took them beyond the classroom stuff.
Yeah, the classroom gives you the building blocks, doesn't it?
Right.
But actually using it, interacting with it in real life, in real situations, that's how you build that fluency muscle.
Fluency muscle, I like that.
Yeah.
And, well, that naturally leads us to the practical stuff, right? How do you actually do that? How do you weave it into your day?
Well, the conversation gives us a really neat way in because one of the speakers actually breaks down their daily routine.
Ah, okay. Like a template for finding those practice moments.
Pretty much. They went through it step by step, waking up around 6:30, making a conscious effort not to grab the phone straight away.
Oh, interesting. I should try that.
Yeah. Then, drinking water, doing some stretching, a walk, or maybe a workout.
Standard healthy morning stuff.
Right. Breakfast was usually eggs or porridge, then showering and getting started with work around 9 a.m.
It sounds quite, straightforward when you list it like that.
It does, but think about it from a language learning perspective. If you, listening now, had to describe your own morning step by step in English, how easily could you do it?
Good point. Just narrating those simple actions, maybe even just in your head or quietly to yourself.
Yeah.
That's practice right there.
Exactly. And speaking of narrating and mimicking, they brought up a really effective technique they used called shadowing.
Shadowing. Okay, I've heard of this, but what does it actually involve?
It's basically mimicking, like you said. You listen to someone speaking English, could be on a podcast like this, a TV show, anything really, and you pause it or just speak along with them. And you try to copy everything, not just the words, but how they say them. The pronunciation, the rhythm, the ups and downs, the intonation.
Ah, okay. So it's not just about understanding, it's about sounding more, well, natural.
Precisely. It gets your mouth used to forming the sounds and your ears tuned into the flow of spoken English. They even gave a good practice sentence.
Oh, yeah. What was it?
Learning English takes time, but you can improve every day.
That's a great one. Simple, positive. You could literally pause this deep dive right now and try shadowing that phrase. Just focus on how we're saying it. Feel that rhythm.
Definitely worth a try. Another really practical tip that came out of this conversation was about keeping a notebook.
Right, for vocabulary.
Well, yes, but specifically not just for single words. They really stressed the importance of writing down whole phrases.
Phrases, like chunks of language you can just use.
Can you give an example from the source?
Yeah, things like, I'm not sure about that. Or, that's a good point.
Instead of just learning the word sure or the word point on its own, you learn the whole expression that people actually use.
I get it, because that's how people really talk, isn't it? In chunks, you learn the phrase, you learn how the words naturally go together, like a little pre-made sentence kit.
Exactly right. It stops your speech sounding so constructed, less like you're translating every single word in your head.
Yeah, less stilted. Okay, so we've got using your daily routine as practice, shadowing for pronunciation and flow, and collecting useful phrases. Those are pretty concrete habits.
Definitely. And they also touched on something bigger, the whole idea of immersion and travel, real-world context.
Right. Do they share a story about that?
Yeah, one of them talked about a trip to the UK, staying with a host family. They called it full-time practice.
Wow. Yeah. Thrown in at the deep end.
Pretty much. You just have to use English constantly. Breakfast, dinner, asking for directions, everything.
I bet that accelerates learning like crazy. Did they mention anything specific they noticed about British English or things they found tricky?
Oh, yeah. The speed people talk at was one thing. And the accents, of course. They can vary so much just within the UK.
Sure.
And the slang, that came up too. They mentioned getting a bit confused by words like loo, meaning toilet,
Ah.
or hearing cheers used just to mean thank you.
Yeah, those little cultural bits
Exactly.
can definitely catch you out if you're not expecting them.
It reminds me, wasn't there a sort of challenge or activity suggested around slang?
There was, yeah.
Yeah.
A good one. Try to pick out maybe 5 new slang words or common idioms from a TV show or a podcast you like.
Okay.
And then, the important part, actually try to use them yourself in a sentence sometime that week.
Ah, actively use them. That's clever. It takes it from just passive understanding to actually producing the language.
It actually forces you to integrate them.
Okay, so these are all great techniques, habits, experiences, but keeping it all going, especially when it gets hard, needs something more, doesn't it? The conversation moved on to mindset, motivation.
Which is just crucial, isn't it? Because everyone hits plateaus or feels stuck sometimes. Totally. What was their advice for that?
They really emphasized remembering why you started learning in the first place. What was your original reason?
Right.
Was it connecting with people from other countries, traveling without feeling lost, getting a job that requires English, holding on to that initial why?
Right.
That's your fuel when motivation dips.
Like your anchor, isn't it? Reminds you what the effort is for. And they had a good analogy for the process, too, I think.
They did the gym analogy.
Oh, yeah.
Learning English is like building muscle. You don't go to the gym once and come out ripped, right?
Well, definitely not.
It takes showing up consistently, day after day, week after week. Progress takes time.
And just like at the gym, sometimes you might, I don't know, stumble or struggle with a weight. Which brings us to making mistakes.
Mhm.
How did the source talk about errors?
This was a really powerful point, I thought. Mistakes are absolutely not failures. That was clear.
Okay, so what are they?
They're proof you're trying. They're a sign that you're actually learning, pushing yourself beyond what's comfortable.
So the message is basically, don't wait until you think you're perfect before you start speaking. Just go for it. Be brave.
Exactly that. Don't let the fear of messing up paralyze you. Use the English you have right now.
Easier said than done sometimes, but a vital message.
Absolutely. And for those times when maybe you don't have someone to talk to, they did offer some ways to practice by yourself.
Ah, yes, the ones that might feel a bit awkward.
Potentially, like talking to yourself in English, just narrating what you're doing or thinking,
Oh.
or recording your own voice speaking English. They acknowledge, yeah, it can feel weird listening back to yourself at first.
Definitely.
But they stressed how incredibly effective it is. For building fluency, yes, but also for hearing where you might need to improve pronunciation, maybe grammar.
Yeah, framing it as deliberate practice makes talking to yourself seem less strange. It's like a mental rehearsal. Okay, so the conversation also got into some common problems learners run into, right? Based on questions they'd received.
Yeah, they tackled a couple of big ones. First, how do you stop translating everything in your head from your native language before you speak English?
Oh, that's a huge one. Slows everything down. What was the advice there?
It's about consciously building the habit of thinking directly in English. And the key is to start small. Really small.
Like how small?
Like just describing your immediate surroundings. Out loud, just to yourself. I see a red mug. The coffee smells nice. My chair is blue. Simple, concrete things.
Okay.
Doing that consistently, even for just a minute or two, multiple times a day, it starts to rewire your brain a bit. Trains it to operate in English without needing that translation step.
So little moments of thinking aloud consistently. Makes sense. What about improving your speaking if you don't have a teacher or you can't find regular conversation partners?
They suggested making the most of the tools we have now, things like language exchange apps. There are loads out there to find native speakers willing to chat. Or making that voice recording a daily habit. Seriously, just talking for a minute every day. Or actively looking for an online speaking buddy. The tools are definitely there.
Oh, here's the catch.
Well, the tools are there, but as they pointed out, you still need the courage to actually use them. To reach out, to hit record, to start the conversation.
Ah, yes. Courage is the secret sauce. Okay. And to make all this really practical, Didn't the source end with some specific challenges for people to try?
Yes.
Like homework?
Exactly. 3 concrete things you could do. Challenge number 1, record a 30-second voice message.
Yeah.
Talk about your daily routine like we discussed earlier.
Okay.
And try to weave in, say, 5 new words or phrases you've learned recently.
Nice. Puts that routine practice into action. What's number 2?
Challenge 2, shadowing. Pick a 1-minute chunk of the original source conversation, or, hey, even a minute of this deep dive right now,
Okay.
and really focus. Copy the rhythm, the intonation, how the words are pronounced, mimic as closely as you can.
Direct practice of that shadowing technique. Got it. And the third one?
Challenge 3, writing. Write a short paragraph in English about maybe your favorite TV show or podcast,
Right.
and try to use some specific phrases they suggested, like, it's about, or I really enjoy it because, and the main character is, just using those common sentence starters.
Using those frameworks helps structure your thoughts. Good idea. And they also made a point about sharing your practice, didn't they? Putting it out there somehow.
Yes, they stressed that actually using English publicly, even if it's just sharing your writing with a language partner or posting your recording in a learner group, that helps growth.
Makes it real. Adds a bit of accountability, maybe?
Exactly, and purpose.
Okay, so quite a journey through this source. We pulled up practical habits like shadowing and keeping phrase notebooks. We've talked about the vital role of mindset, remembering your why, seeing mistakes as learning.
And got some concrete ways to tackle common issues like translation head and finding speaking practice, plus those actionable challenges.
And I think the big overarching message, the really encouraging takeaway from that original conversation was pretty powerful.
Yeah, it was basically. You're probably doing much better than you think you are. You're likely further along than you realize.
That's great to hear.
The real secret, if there is one, is just consistency. Keep listening. Keep speaking. Whatever level you're at, just keep using it. And really, don't give up.
Progress isn't always fast. It isn't always obvious day to day, but the ability to improve is definitely there. You've got this.
Absolutely, you do.
So here's something to think about, a final thought. If learning English really is like building a muscle in the gym, and we know that consistency is the absolute key to seeing any results there,
Right.
how can you consciously make that potentially awkward daily practice, talking to yourself in English, recording your voice, how can you make that feel as non-negotiable a part of your day as, say, drinking water when you wake up or doing a quick stretch?